Alan here with DustyHikers.com, and today I want to talk about whether or not the Big Bend National Park is safe for hiking. We were just in Big Bend National Park in December and had an absolutely amazing time. So if you want to go to Big Bend National Park and you're wondering whether or not it's safe to be there, watch this video. So I think part of the reason why people ask this question is because of the park's proximity to Mexico. I think that's the reason why. I don't know, but it is asked a lot on the internet. Is Big Bend National Park safe? There's a law firm that did an audit of all of the national parks from like 2007 to 2018, and I think their results showed that there were 16 deaths in that time frame from 2017 to 2018. And there were 4.4 million visitors. So it is extremely safe. But don't take my word for it. I actually reached out to the National Park Service and the park rangers there at Big Bend National Park, and I sent them a series of questions in an email, and Ann Gilliland, a U.S. park ranger, responded to my questions, and I have provided all of that information in a blog post. So if you Google, "Is Big Bend National Park safe? Advice from a park ranger," you will find the Dusty Hikers blog entry on this topic at the top of the search page. So you can go there and you can find all of her answers and insights about how to stay safe in Big Bend National Park. So just talking about our experience at the park, we live here in South Texas, and so being close to the border is not something that bothers us. We all speak Spanish, and we're used to seeing people that, don't look like us, right? And so just being that close to the border was not an issue for us. But I could understand how if you're, consuming a lot of cable news television news, I could understand how maybe the border is something that would frighten you because of the cartels and the illegal immigrants coming across. We spent quite a bit of time right next to the river. So the Rio Grande River is right there in the border between the park and Mexico. My son and I actually swam to Mexico in the Rio Grande River while we were in Big Bend National Park. And there were locals, Mexicans, that were selling stuff in the park. So they were coming across on horses or kind of wading across the river. And I didn't see a large park ranger presence in those areas where people were doing this, but at the same time, they were all extremely respectful. I never felt unsafe, and they're really just there trying to earn a living. At Boquillas Canyon, where we were, there was a man sitting right across the river, and he had, on the Mexican side, and on the U.S. side, he had some stuff laid out that he was selling, and he had a jar. So you would speak to him right across the river, tell him what you wanted, and he would tell you what the price was, and you'd put the money in the jar and then take your item, and he would presumably wade back across and get his money. But again, none of that felt unsafe to me. The park ranger that I interviewed through email did talk about hydration. She said that's a really big concern. They're constantly preaching to hikers to carry more water. She said in the park, when you go on a day hike, you should carry at least 1 gallon of water per adult. And I agree with that. You're in the Chihuahuan Desert. It is about 3,000 foot elevation. And so those two factors right there mean that your body's going to be using a lot more water than it normally would. And then on top of that, if you're hiking for 6 or 7 hours, you're going to be dangerously dehydrated at the end of the hike if you don't bring any water. The other thing that she talked a little bit about was animals in the park. I mean, I saw lots of bear sign. I did not see any bear, which is kind of normal. There's also a mountain lion in the park. I didn't see any mountain lions. Of course, I've only seen one mountain lion in all of the decades that I've been out in the woods. You never see mountain lions. It's very rare. We saw javelina, and we saw some deer, and we saw a coyote, and then we saw a bunch of birds. That's about it. I mean, the most dangerous part of being in the park is probably just driving around, honestly. In fact, the 16 people that have died in that 10-year time span, probably most of them, it was natural causes. They had a heart attack, or they got in a car accident or something like that. It's probably not that they were mauled by a bear or that they were somehow in some kind of altercation with people coming across the border. I highly recommend going to Big Bend National Park, especially in the winter. It's a great destination to go if you want to go hiking in the winter and not be uncomfortable. I mean, the daytime highs while we were there were about 75, and like I said, my son and I swam in the Rio Grande River. We went on some amazing hikes in the park, in the desert. We didn't suffer too much. The park ranger wrote to me that in the summer especially, daytime temperatures often don't dip below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot, and especially if you're in the desert. So definitely, I would say if you want to go check out Big Bend, winter is just an amazing time to do that. So once again, if you want to read the full transcript of what the park ranger told me about safety in the park, you can just go to Google and in the search type in is Big Bend National Park safe? Advice from a park ranger, and then find the Dusty Hikers blog, and you can read the full text of what she wrote. If you found this video useful for planning your trip to Big Bend National Park, hit the like button. That will tell YouTube that other people that are also interested in Big Bend National Park and whether or not it's safe, that this video might be useful to them. We're posting videos about our experience in getting back into backpacking and hiking, my wife and I. We've been on some pretty amazing trips this year, and we're planning some bigger trips in the future. So if you want to follow our journey, hit the subscribe button. Once again, thank you, and I will see you in the next one.